and we had a question that I want to address. I can't find the quote that I want, but I'm going to find it eventually. Okay, somebody wrote in and said, "Hi, Shannon. My son is 10, mainstreamed, and has a full-time aide. My question is about your views on allowing him to take a Chinese, and I'm assuming class, immediately after school, a half-hour class twice a week. He loves languages. My mom thinks it's appalling that I would quote unquote, do that to him. She thinks I would be confusing him. I think it's an awesome opportunity to learn a different culture and language. Thanks." Okay, this is a great question, because this is, when I started the show and I said we need to look at all of our children as individuals, and a part of that is letting go of our misconceptions of what things might be, should be, would be, could be, whatever, and looking at our individual children, because they have different interests and they have different abilities than what we are used to. That's going to make some people uncomfortable. And as parents, we're going to find some little quarter to find peace with that and not waste time on it, is my advice, for what it's worth. Because if your child loves languages and has expressed even the smallest amount of interest in learning another language, be it Chinese or Swahili, then I say run with that. And if other people are made uncomfortable by that because of their fear, just remember that fear is false evidence appearing real. Remember that they're coming at it from their point of view, and your mom means well. She loves your child, and she means well, and she doesn't want you to confuse him. And in her world, if she were having difficulty with something and somebody like speaking one language, learning a second language would be confusing to her. She's coming at it from her experience. And bless her, that's well-meaning. It's not going to serve you or your child. So maybe the less said about the Chinese class after school to mom, the better. Wait until your child is beaming and saying entire phrases in Chinese to go, "Isn't that amazing?" And you'll have jumped over her fear. I know it's hard sometimes because we have people that we want to run to and say, "Hey, isn't this amazing?" But sometimes there's parts of this journey that they're not going to be with us. And that's a bummer, but maybe over time, as your mom sees all the things that your child can do, things that she can't even dream of doing, maybe her fear will start to recede. It's well-meaning, it's well-intentioned. I was looking for the quote. The quote, there's a poem about if we judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. I can't find it though. I'm going to find it eventually. But Emily texted it to me on my phone or on the computer. Okay, here we go. She found it while I was talking to you. Here's the quote. "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid." We're not going to engage in that with our children. And for people who are having that fear moment, and thank you, Emily, because it's the perfect quote. For people who are having that fear moment, we're going to feel love towards them and steer our attention someplace else. Because you know what? You're not going to change their minds when they're in the fear. And their fear is well-intentioned. It just doesn't suit the situation. And I believe, and I'm going to ask some of our research people here throughout the week, that research supports that when we teach children more languages, it actually helps them with their base language, and that there's some real research behind that. I know one of the big ahas for me last summer, we got to see a group of gentlemen speak at a retreat. 3 of them that have recovered from autism, and they're all as different as they can be, right? If you want to see like the face of autism and what recovery looks like, they couldn't be more different. And one of them was talking about how difficult it had been for him to learn to speak. And he speaks quite well and is, I think, just finished getting his PhD or is about to finish getting his PhD. And he said, but if you listen to me, I still speak English as though it is a second language because I learned English as a second language. That sometimes there's a very interesting way that I'll phrase things and that it's just a little different. And one of the things that he shared afterwards was that he also learned other foreign languages. So I don't think that if your child is interested in learning Chinese, I don't see where there's an issue there at all. How can knowledge be a bad thing? If your child if it has said, I don't want to go, I don't want to learn Chinese, and comes home and engages in challenging behavior afterwards, then we have other discussions, right? But when they're interested in something, run with it. Absolutely run with it. And if there are people who are having thoughts and feelings and emotions about that, talk about the flowers with them and don't talk about that. That's my advice. Let me know how it works out for you. I'm fascinated that your child is going to be speaking Chinese. I think it's wonderful.